Hello, my name is Bill Davidson, Senior Consultant with Critical Design Associates. Today I'd like to welcome you to our presentation of Ivanti Service Management with Xtraction. As you probably already know, Xtraction is a web-based application that provides the ability for us to create dashboards and documents and schedule those to report on different applications. We can display information from several applications, and the nice thing about Xtraction, it requires very little overhead. In order to use Xtraction with ISM or any other Ivanti application, we'll need to configure the data model, Xtraction settings. We'll take a look at the dashboards that come from the demo barrage of dashboards that we bring in. And we can create a new dashboard and schedule a report using a created dashboard or an existing dashboard. We'll be configuring Xtraction by adding the database accounts to our ISM database or any other database that you need to add it to. We're going to download and prepare the connector. We'll set up the Service Manager data source. We're going to take care of configuring connection strings, URLs, and then we'll save that configuration file. When you installed Xtraction, you would have created a couple of accounts in SQL or possibly in your domain controller. It'll be brought into SQL. One with read-write access, that'll be your account for actually connecting with Xtraction, and another read-only user that will be the account that's used to connect to applications in order to bring in data to the Xtraction application. The first account we'll look at is your Xtraction read-write application account. And in this case, when we open it up, we'll notice that it's going to be mapped to Xtraction as data reader, data writer, and DB owner. The next account that we want to look at is our read-only account. And in this case, we're going to need to map this to the databases that we want to use. So we know we're going to be using ISM, so let's go ahead and make that a data reader. And we're also, for purposes of this, we're going to be using EPM, so we'll map that as a data reader as well. We'll just double check that. And okay, we're done with that part. When you downloaded the Ivanti Xtraction connector from the Ivanti website and you unzip that file, you'll note there's an Ivanti combined DAT file. We want to take that data file and we want to put it in our Xtraction installation in the Xtraction Data Configuration folder. We'll be using that because it provides the information that we need to be able to connect to our Ivanti applications. The next thing that we're going to do is go to our program files and open up our Xtraction Data Model Editor. Here we're going to go ahead and do a file open and choose our Ivanti DAT file. This will bring in the data model, which includes the data sources for Ivanti applications, as well as some other configuration things we'll need. We're going to go ahead and remove the active flag from all of the applications except for our EPM Endpoint Manager and our Ivanti Service Manager. We'll do that by double-clicking and deselecting active for each of those applications. Now, if you wanted to add additional Ivanti applications in the future, you'd come back into the Data Model Editor and open that again and be selecting the applications that you wanted to use here. The next thing that we need to do, though, is we need to go ahead and set the connection strings so that Xtraction will know how to talk to these. For that, we'll go to Tools, our Connection String Editor. We'll choose our Endpoint Manager, select that. Our server will be our SQL server. Our database in this case is EPM. Our user ID is go ahead and test that to make sure we connect, and we didn't. So let's take a look at why. And there we go. And we're going to do the same thing now for Ivanti Service Manager. We'll define our connection string. In this case, HeatSM is the default database name when you install Ivanti Service Management, although if you've changed that database name, you'll want to make sure that you have the right database here. Make sure and test that connection. OK that. We'll OK everything here. And now we're going to go do the next part, which is we'll want to configure the URLs that that server talks to. For this, we'll go to our URL editor, and we'll take a look at Endpoint Manager. And you see we've got a marker, placeholder, Web Server 1. I'm going to copy that, do a find and replace. In this case, I'm using W16-EPM01. We'll go ahead and OK that. Notice that they're all corrected. We're going to scroll down now to our Ivanti Service Manager right here, and we can see that there are a number of URLs here. So we're going to go ahead and copy again. Find and replace. Make sure we captured everything here. So here we'll go ahead and replace that with our Service Manager application location, which is W16-ISM01. And you see it's replaced a number of our URLs for launching different parts of the application. Go ahead and OK that now. Now that we're done with this, we want to go ahead and save this. So we're going to do a File, Save, and now we'll exit out of here. We're going to go back to our installation folder. Configuration, whoops, get to the right place. And here what we want to do is rename the out-of-the-box data model file to something that won't be confused. And we'll rename our Ivanti combined dat file to data model. Let's go back into our data model editor just to verify everything. We'll open up datamodel.dat, and as we can see, we're checked out fine. Looking back in Tools, you can see that our extraction connections are correct and our URLs look good. The next thing that we're going to want to do is take care of our extraction application settings. And in this case, we want to make sure that we've got the content imported so it will be useful. In this case, we'll be going to Extraction Settings, we're going to go to our Create Update Database. Go ahead and make sure that's all good. And then we'll go to Features. In Features, what we want to do is we want to add those data sources that we created in our connection.dat file, or dat file. So we're going to go ahead and choose that. What we're going to do here, and this is actually in our connectors, is we're going to add the endpoint management connector, and we're going to append that. We'll let that import. It'll take just a minute. And once that's been completed, we'll go ahead and import our Service Manager dashboards. Again, appending and import. And this one runs really quick. We'll be able to close out of here. There's some additional things that you could implement if you wanted. If you wanted to implement your email server for purposes of reporting or other things, you can do that here. We'll go ahead and log out. And now, when we log into extraction, we'll be able to see some things that weren't there before. We'll notice in the home page that we now have some shared folders. These include Ivanti Endpoint Management folder, as well as the Ivanti Service Management folder. We can go in and take a look at some things here and examine some of the existing reports. And while we're examining some of the imported dashboards that we have, we'll take a look at copying a dashboard, deleting a dashboard. There may be some dashboards that you don't want. So as we take a look at these, we'll stretch that over a little bit. We'll take a look and see what we have in Assets and Software. A bunch of different reports. We click on them. You can see that it'll load information. There's a nice one to look at. Quite a bit of information that it tells us. Some of these may not be useful to you. If they're not, it's possible for us to go to the Dashboard Designer, go to Tools, Folders, and select our folder that we're interested. We can always delete an item if we don't want it. The other thing that we can do is we can copy a report. Let's suppose that we have a report that looks pretty interesting to us. So we'll go back and just open one and take a look. Assets discovered, for example. Maybe discovered devices. So there are some fields on here that we like and some other fields that we really don't want. It's possible for us to go ahead and copy that. In the Dashboard Designer, we would open it. We'd open a report of interest. And in this case, if we wanted to, we could always do a file, save, or save as and give that report a new name so we could then edit that report as we wished. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at creating a new dashboard. To do this, we're just going to go into the Dashboard Designer and choose a few things that we'd like to display on that report. So going to the Dashboard Designer, we can choose File, New, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a layout where I can show a couple of things for you. Let's pick one like this. We've got 4 areas equally spaced in this. I'm going to go ahead and give it a title, and I'm going to call it Bills, ISM, and EPM Report. We'll save that. We want to publish that so everybody can use it, so let's just publish it to public. Okay, and we'll take a look now at how we can design that report. So the first thing that we'll want to do is choose our data source. In this case, we're choosing EPM and computers. When I do that, I get a bunch of stuff here that is already pre-created for me. Let's take a look at our record list. And there's the list of all of our servers that we have. And we'll take a look at maybe something else. How about a group component for a pie chart? Oops. And let's scroll down here and take a look at let's say storage device status. And here, if we want to, we can always view records and drill into it and find out what everything has. Now, back in the designer, we've shown a couple of things here for EPM. We maybe want to relabel this and call it EPM computers. And maybe here we'll relabel this and leave that one alone right now. Let's go ahead and add some ISM stuff in there. So here we'll go ahead and go and select, instead of Endpoint Manager, we're going to select ISM, and we're going to display some incidents. So let's go ahead and take a look again at our list components, our record list. And maybe we want to take a look at a group component and maybe a column chart that shows status. And so now we've created our first dashboard. So we're going to want to save that. And here we would have the option of changing or creating the name if we hadn't already chosen it. Go ahead and put it in My Folders. Okay, that. We've created our first report now. So the last thing that we'd like to do is go ahead and schedule a report or schedule that dashboard to generate a report for us. Make that available to us. We can make it available several different ways, but let's see what we can do with it. So we'll go to the icon. If we're in our home, we'll go down to our, actually we'll go back to our reports. And over here, we see a calendar, and that calendar is our scheduler. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a name here. We'll use that in just a second. Let's export this guy as a PDF. And We're currently showing it's going to run at 3:30. Let's make it 3:35. It's 3:33 my time right now. And we want to deliver that. I'm going to deliver it to the local file system. Although you have choices. If you've configured your email, you could configure it to the extraction server. I'm going to use that file name that I abbreviated and append a date stamp to that file name so I can identify when it was done. And the other thing that I've done on my server is I've created a reports file that's shared, and I can deliver that report right to that shared report folder. And that's all we have to do to schedule it. We'll just save it. Okay. Now, if we were in the Home tab, we'd see right here, Scheduled Tasks. So we'll take a look at Scheduled Tasks. As we can see, we've got a scheduled task that's ready to run in just a couple of minutes. But if I want to, I can always run that now. We'll refresh, and there we go. We see that it's run. Take a look at our reports folder, and there is our report. Hopefully demonstrating the ability to use Xtraction not only for ISM, but to be able to do reports that share across different data sources. It'd be very handy if you want to monitor several different things in Ivanti, service management, you want to look at extraction, or itself, or possibly EPM. You can actually define different areas in that report to utilize different data sources without ever jeopardizing the data source itself, because we have a read-only user that simply brings that information into extraction so that there's no way that we can corrupt any data in the source application. One other little thing to mention: when you're leaving the extraction application, we recommend that you go ahead and log out so that you release any licenses you may have consumed. And if we go back and take a look at our report folder, we'll notice that at 15:35, when we schedule that report, it ran automatically. We can also configure when we want it, how often we want it to run, those sorts of things. We really hope that you've enjoyed the presentation that we've done today, and we look forward to working for you. We'll be doing additional presentations from time to time to cover different aspects of Ivanti service management, things that you can do with it, and maybe it's in a relationship to other applications like this one with extraction. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.